Welcome to your course tour of America's History, 9th edition. Thank you for selecting this book to use in your classroom. Our hope is to partner with you to provide the tools to boost students' historical skills and hopefully increase AP test scores. The goal of today's session is to prepare you for using your new textbook. We will do an in-depth review of the book and its resources to make sure you have a full understanding of the program. Before we get started, let's review the materials you have received with your order. If you've ordered at least a class set, you should have received a teacher's edition, an ExamView test bank, and the teacher's resource flash drive. It is possible that you received a URL and password to download the materials from the flash drive digitally versus receiving an actual flash drive. Please note that some components such as ebooks, Launchpad, Strive for Fives, source books, or documents for U.S. history require an additional purchase. If there's anything you have not received, please contact your local sales representative. We also offer to every teacher access to our Classroom Compass site. This site provides an opportunity for additional training and information. At BFW, we love to hear about all the different ways our books are used in the classroom. Please log into our site at classroomcompass.bfwpub.com and join our discussion boards to share ideas and strategies with your colleagues and the textbook authors. Before you begin teaching an AP course, head to the AP Central site on the College Board website. Once there, you'll be able to navigate to the AP US History homepage. Here you'll find lots of information concerning the AP course and exam. Look for the AP course exam description and teacher's guide, and all updates that have been made by College Board in regards to the course or exam or unit assessments will also be found on this site. Teaching AP US history is a very challenging and rewarding proposition. It can be daunting to teach students the critical skills of reading, writing, and thinking historically while emphasizing the themes and concepts for the APUSH curriculum. As you begin to think of how to organize your course with your next textbook, keep the following tips in mind. Pacing. Create a schedule for the entire year and stick to it. Backwards map your syllabus starting with the exam date and work backward to the first day of class. The pacing guides we've included are for 120 days of instruction. The authors have taken into account typical interruptions you will encounter throughout the year. Daily goal. You are preparing students every day for the AP exam. Each day you interact with your students, you should keep that focus in mind, increasing the ability to analyze history information and sources, and improve the ability to convey those ideas in written form. If your lessons do not accomplish these goals, take the time to re-examine and redesign. In your teacher's edition, turn to page XLVIII in the preface section. With the emphasis on historical thinking skills, it's important for your students to understand and practice the skills emphasized in AP US History. Beyond examining each of these skills, this section also provides 10 exercises for students to complete and uses many examples from the textbook. This is a great summer reading assignment to introduce your students to the types of skills that will be required of them throughout the year. This book is also organized into 9 parts. These parts closely align with the 9 units established by the College Board. Each part and chapter of this text is structured around a common set of features designed to learn history and develop the skills necessary for the AP exam. Take note of the percentages tested on the exam. While creating your schedule, be sure to plan your time appropriately. Organizing U.S. history into 9 distinct periods encourages students to trace changes and continuities over time and grasp connections between political, economic, social, and cultural events. From part to part, the central themes will change. For example, in Part 2, covering the time period 1660 to 1763, the central theme addressed by the authors deals with development. In contrast, Part 3, covering time periods 1763 to 1820, the central theme presented is economics. And the example shown here, Part 6, covers the period 1877 to 1917. Economic issues again take center stage during the period that includes the Great Depression, World War II, and the rise of the middle class after World War II. The part structure allows students to review the materials they are about to study, provides a great review tool, and also helps students to identify patterns of continuity and change over time. Because of the impact of the central themes, it is important for your students to understand why the book is organized this way. While each part of the textbook focuses around a central theme, it's still important for your students to understand the multiple themes that are constantly occurring in history. Turn to page 138, 139 in your teacher's edition. The book opens each part with a thematic timeline and a question found in the margin. This graphic organizers help students with contextualization, making connections across different strands, and also helps them with their chronological reasoning skills as they see how themes change over time. The thematic understanding question is a great to assign to test your students' historical thinking skills. Working with and analyzing primary sources are key to the APUSH course and a requirement for the document-based question or DBQ. The text provides substantial excerpts from documents such as letters, diaries, autobiographies, public testimonies, and photos. 4 types of sources are found in each chapter. Let's take a look at each type. Turn to page 226, AP Analyzing Voices. 3 separate sources giving on the topic of factual politics in the War of 1812. On page 227, the section ends with questions focusing on the AP skill of comparison. Students will then use the skills learned to help them write better DBQs in the future. Turn to page 213. AP America in the World. These sources situate U.S. history in a global context. On page 206, AP Interpreting the Past, these sources are secondary sources and ask students to analyze the arguments. Each of the sources provides short answer question practice. AP Thinking Like a Historian is great practice for many DBQs. Each consists of 5 to 8 brief primary sources organized around a central theme to help students work with evidence. On page 210 to 11, these documents focus on the social life of alcohol. Let's pause here. Take a few minutes to go back and look over each of the different sources. As you consider your schedule, mark out days to focus on writing and teaching document skills. Which cluster of documents will help you accomplish your daily goals? Let's dig into the teacher's edition. Turn to page 202A through 202B. These are the first few pages before Chapter 7, known as Blue Pages. Every chapter has blue pages, and these will help you develop your chapter plans. On page 202A, we added an AP Assessment Weight and Pacing Guide. As you create your year-round schedule, use these to help determine how many days to spend on each chapter. In our Chapter 7 example, you will spend 5 days with a traditional schedule and 2 to 3 days on the content using a block schedule. Each day is then broken down into one essential question. Let this question guide you in selecting sources, activities, and lecture ideas. On page 202B, we include all the teacher resources that are available to you as you prepare to teach this chapter. You will find these resources on your teacher resource flash drive. The TRM icon is used throughout the chapter and serves as a reminder when you will need your flash drive to access materials. TRM stands for Teacher Resource Materials. We offer bell ringer activities to begin your lesson and practice for students to apply AP practice skills. These will take no more than 5 to 15 minutes of your class period. I think the most exciting activity we have to offer is the essential activity. Should you run out of time or find that you are a bit behind in your yearly schedule, use the essential activity. This is the most important content and/or skills that students need to know for the AP exam. Let's pause the video and take a few minutes to familiarize yourself with a few of the activities offered in Chapter 7. Let's continue our walk through Chapter 7. Turn to page 204. There are 3 types of AP notes: those with blue bands, those with red bands, and those with gray bands. The blue bands provide tips for teaching the AP practice and skills. Red bands suggest activities for extending the AP exam tips in the student edition. The AP tips in your teacher edition will always correlate with the AP tips in the student edition. Sometimes these tips will have activities and/or worksheets as part of the tip. Remember, these printouts can always be found on the flash drive and will be noted with the icon TRM. Gray bands offer you support for teaching the thematic learning objectives. As you flip through the chapter, note that these different AP boxes correspond to specific content within the chapter. These are well thought out tips to assist you throughout the teaching of every chapter. The APUSH course moves fast, so it will be important that you stop and assess your students' understanding of the course concepts and skills. On page 229, this assessment asks students the major consequences of the War of 1812. Let's finish our walkthrough on page 233-A, the chapter review. Each chapter finishes with a mini AP exam. It will include multiple choice and short answer questions. Turn to page 233C. Each part finishes with a DBQ, and all model answers and rubrics can be found on the teacher resource question.